Hi guys, welcome back to the Cinematic Mike channel. Today I'm going to go over my thoughts on the upcoming film by Matt Reeves called The Batman. My thoughts on The Batman, I have to go back to the beginning when The Batman got announced and Matt Reeves was announced as the director. I recently was thinking about this. I don't know if I remember that Ben Affleck was actually going to do a Batman film. I'm not sure if I was aware of that at the time or if I was. I can't quite remember, but I remember this whole Matt Reeves and the Batman being rebooted type of deal thing. And I remember I was a little bit disappointed because I'm like, why we going to go with another Batman again? We just had Ben Affleck barely take over Batman. He was our new Batman, and now you're going to go like either just stop Batman. And it's the same way I kind of felt with the Joker. I feel like the studios are just kind of milking this type of situation, these characters, because they made money. I feel like ever since The Dark Knight came out, they saw that that movie did so good, and they thought that they could deliver it again with these other movies and bringing back these characters, which they haven't done anything like The Dark Knight, I think, or Batman Begins. But they're bringing these characters, and I felt that way when they brought Joker. I was like, this is too soon. I'm like, Heath Ledger just played Joker a few years ago. I mean, this is too soon. I mean, look at how long it took from Jack Nicholson to Heath Ledger. It took quite a while, and right here, it didn't even take that long for Jared Leto to play the Joker, and from like how long Heath Ledger was playing the Joker, and so. I was actually looking for. I was disappointed with it, but then I'm like, you know what? Jared Leto's a great actor in other films. I was looking forward to his performance as a Joker. I did not enjoy David Ayer's The Suicide Squad. I did not enjoy Jared Leto's performance as a Joker. It's one that I really do not enjoy at all. I think he did a terrible Joker in that film. Then there's Todd Phillips' Joker. And I was like, again, we're gonna go redo it. How many times are we gonna have to do with this character? And like I said, it goes on. It feels like you guys are just doing this because Joker brought money, or you know that a lot of people like the Joker now because of the Dark Knight. And I was like, how many times? But I gotta say, I'm a fan of Todd Phillips as the Joker. I love how Queen Phoenix is Joker, and I love the take that they took, being inspired by Taxi Driver or classic Martin Scorsese type of films. You know, those classic films from the '70s and all that. And I'm a fan of that film. But I do think that it should stop. I mean, like I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, oh, there's gonna be another Joker now. So it's kind of how I felt with Ben Affleck taking over Batman. I'm like, or we're gonna get another Batman now. And or Christian Bale barely finished the trilogy, and now we're gonna get another Batman. Remember, I was a little bit upset. I think that Ben Affleck was gonna be Batman. I mean, I like him, but I was like, he's too known. I'm like, I don't know if I could see him as a Batman. He's too famous and all that. And but I saw him in the film, and I actually think he did great as Bruce Wayne and Batman. I think he's a good actor for the Batman role. So now they're doing it with Robert Pattinson, and I'm like, wow, again. So now we have another actor playing it. I don't know how this is gonna turn out. This is bad, you know. So I don't know. That's kind of how I felt with it. But Matt Reeves got announced as the director, and I gotta say that I really enjoy Matt Reeves. I'm a fan of his because of the Planet of the Apes trilogy. I mean, well, the Planet of the Apes trilogy is not his. I mean, because I think the first one was directed by someone else. But Dawn and War for the Planet of the Apes were his, and I love all three of those films. And it felt like I barely left those films when this whole situation was going on. I went to go watch those in theaters, and I'm a big fan of those films. I own all three of them. I'm a fan of his from Cloverfield. I remember Cloverfield. I think Cloverfield came out in 2008 when The Dark Knight came out, or was it 2009? I mean, but yeah, I'm a fan of his from those films. And so I was like, cool, they made a good choice in picking Matt Reeves as the director. And I kept thinking, I'm like, I wonder what this is gonna be like. I mean, because I mean, we just had it felt fresh, the Nolan trilogy, and now we barely got Zack Snyder's Batman and Batman v Superman, and I think Justice League. You know, I didn't know where they were gonna take this, and but you know, when it gets announced like a Batman movie, you start wondering. Your mind goes like, oh, I wonder where they're gonna take it, how the world's gonna be like, and all that. And I kind of wanted it to go back to like the way Tim Burton was able to be creative, even with the costume designer, the set designers, and all that. I wanted to go back to that kind of route, you know, familiar to like when I was younger, you know, and because I already saw Nolan's trilogy being grounded and all that, and so I was hoping for something like that. And then they kind of announced that I guess they were gonna go. You start hearing Matt Reeves talk about how he's gonna take it a serious take, and he wants to ground it too. And then I started hearing things that it's going to be based off of the Long Halloween and Year One, and I'm like, well, didn't we already see that in Batman Begins and The Dark Knight? I'm like, why are we gonna go back to it again? Like, if we barely saw it, I'm like, why don't you go somewhere else? And then he talked about this graphic novel called Batman Eagle, and I thought that was it. He's like, mine's gonna be inspired by this novel, Batman Eagle, and I'm like, cool. I don't know that novel, and I'm like, but it's cool that he's gonna go with this other novel that I haven't heard of, and I'm like, let's see what that's gonna be all about. But recently, I saw that there's a collection of the three books that are the inspiration for the film, and Batman Year One, Batman Long Halloween, and Batman Eagle come in it. When Robert Pattinson got announced as the actor to play Batman, I really got upset. I was like, why the hell would they pick Robert Pattinson? I knew Robert Pattinson from the Twilight films, and that was all I knew him from. I had never saw his other films, and I was really upset that I went all on social media upset. Like, why did they choose Robert Pattinson as Batman? Why the hell? And I'm like, who would even think to put Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne or as Batman in a film? Where did that come from? Like, whose idea was that? I remember my friend told me, he's like, man, you can't be trashing him like that. He's probably embarrassed of those films himself that he did. You can't judge him on that. He's done other films. He's like, you shouldn't be hard on him. He's probably the one person in the world that probably hates those films more than you do. I mean, I don't hate those films. I own one of those films because I really like them, but I just didn't see him as this character of Bruce Wayne and Batman because he's too known from like the Twilight film. And then I was looking forward to this film called Uncut Gems by the Safdie brothers, and I went to go see it. And then I looked up like the history, like I always do on movies. I'm like, let's see what these directors did before. And I saw that they did the film called Good Time, and I'm like, Good Time. And I saw the trailer, and I'm like, oh, I remember seeing that trailer, and I was kind of interested, but because of Robert Pattinson, I didn't see it. Being a fan of Uncut Gems, I ended up watching Good Time, and Good Time was a hell of a ride. And right there, you can see that Robert Pattinson is an actor. He's a great actor. And I think all right. So I understand here that, hey, man, yeah, he deserves a chance at this. And it's possible that he might do a great job. I like him in that Good Time. I recommended people to watch this film. I think I still got some people around me that are probably like, nah, I'm not going to watch it because he's from Twilight. But he's good. And I heard he was good in that recent film called The Lighthouse too. I haven't seen it. Good Time is the only one I think I've seen. I don't think I've seen him in anything else. Oh, I've seen him in a Netflix film where he plays a French king or something. So that was a small role though. But it was cool the way he does his dialect and all that. But yeah. Paul Dano gets announced to play the Riddler, and this made me excited because I'm a fan of Paul Dano. I've been a fan of his since like the Girl Next Door, and this one's the one that really made me a fan of his, which is Little Miss Sunshine. I think he does a great performance in that film, and that's where I got to know him more. That's where I was like, damn, this guy's good, and I would like to see his face in more films that I see along the way. He was in that. He's in Dennis Villeneuve's Prisoners. It was amazing to see him in that film. And there's a time where I started looking up my actors that I like, I want to see what work they were doing recently or what was new with them. And there's this hype going around for this indie film called For Ellen with Paul Dano. I think he plays like a rock star, and he's supposed to be the father to this girl that he didn't know about. And it's a good film from what I remember for Ellen, and I like these indie type of films. And then when you get an actor like Paul Dano, like, that's cool. I actually think he barely directed a film too, but it was amazing. I'm like, cool, one actor that I like. My actors, with the actors that I admire, that I like it when they're playing the villain role, and especially if they're playing like the Riddler. That's cool, that's interesting, and I can't wait to see what he does with that. So yeah, this is what happens with me. I get to know these actors as supporting roles at first, and because I seen them in one big film and they were a small role, they start becoming like my favorite actor along the way. I'm like, oh, or it's just cool. I like that actor because I seen him in that film. But I'm also focusing on their work, seeing if they do a good job, and so that's kind of what happened with Paul Dano. The person that I'm gonna talk about is Jeffrey Wright. That's what happened with Jeffrey Wright. I mean, I knew him from Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace. He plays like one of James Bond's friends that kind of like gives him little pointers and all that, heads up and all that. And I knew him from there, and from there he went on to like freaking The Hunger Games, he was there, and I'm like, oh cool, I like seeing him in the James Bond films. He wasn't in one of them, which made me sad. I missed him in one of them, but I think he's gonna be in the upcoming one, which is really cool. Yeah, he's gonna be in what's the new one called again? No Time to Die. No Time to Die. And so yeah, that's what happens. It's the same thing with Zoe Kravitz. Zoe Kravitz, who's gonna play Selena Kyle, Catwoman. I mean, Jeffrey Wright's playing Commissioner Gordon in the Batman. And so I thought he was. I thought when they announced his name, I'm like, oh, cool. I didn't complain at all. I'm like, I mean, he seems like he would be a James Gordon in that world. So I was cool with it. I mean, I admire that actor. It's gonna be fun. James Gordon, he's gonna play that. That's cool. And then Zoe Kravitz too. The same thing happened with her. Got introduced to her in X-Men First Class. And I think the way I got introduced to her in X-Men First Class is because I saw that she had her own fans. I didn't know her at all. And they're really supportive of her being in X-Men and all that. So then I got all nosy and like, oh, who is this girl? And all that. So I kind of knew a little bit about her, but I'm like, oh, cool. I should follow her and see what her work is, And then she comes out in Mad Max Fury Road. She comes out in freaking Fantastic Beasts, which I'm a fan of. So it's good to see her and to see her like get announced to be playing Selena Kyle, Catwoman. That's gonna be amazing, and it's kind of cool because I heard a story that I guess she auditioned for The Dark Knight Rises, and they didn't want her because she was too urban. And now she auditioned again, which you would think she probably wouldn't audition again, but it looked like she really wanted this role. And now she's playing Selena Kyle, Catwoman in the Batman. And I think she does it also in Batman the Lego Movie. I think she does Catwoman in there, but she's just like meowing, I think, throughout the whole time. So that's amazing. On top of that, another actor of mine that I like is Colin Farrell. He gets announced as the Penguin. Colin Farrell, I know him from Phone Booth, which I really enjoy. Which is cool. Schumacher, Joel Schumacher did Phone Booth. I know him from Pride and Glory, another film that I really enjoy with him and Edward Norton. It's a crime drama, a cop film. I like him in there. Seven Psychopaths, one of the greatest dark comedies, which is In Bruges. So that just made it exciting for me to want to see the film. That the list just gets bigger because then John Turturro gets announced as Carmine Falcone, and I'm like, what the hell? Every time this news comes out for the Batman, the cast is getting big, and it's just amazing the cast that they picked. I mean, you see the list, and you're like, damn. The list is, for me, it's big because I'm a fan of these people. So for me, it's big. It's a big thing for me. And John Turturro gets to play Carmine Falcone. And it reminded me of the time when I was excited for Steve Buscemi to play Nucky Thompson in Boardwalk Empire. And you would think like your family, you told your family, oh, John Turturro or Steve Buscemi, they're like, oh, that's a comedy actor. I'm like, no, they got range. I'm like, they've done some good work out there, some serious work out there. They're good actors and they can play the serious role. I mean, I remember when I talked about Boardwalk Empire, some people were like, I don't know, he's a funny guy. I don't think he's going to be. And I'm like, no, he's going to be a great guy, I think. And he was. Boardwalk Empire is my number one all-time favorite show. But John Turturro is getting the same treatment here. He's going to play a mob boss here. And I'm sure he's going to do well. I hope they give him some good things to work with in the film. So that's cool. And then on top of that, I don't know who this guy is playing, but I grew up seeing this guy in films, and I always enjoyed seeing him in films. It's Peter Sarsgaard. So I think he's playing a district attorney. I think people were kind of rumoring that he might be playing Harvey Dent, but I don't know. But it's cool. Either way, if he's playing Harvey Dent, it's cool. If he's not, it's cool because I'm going to see his face in there. So like I said, this list for me is awesome. The cast is just great in it. So I'm looking forward to the film because of that. I had an issue with the Batman costume. I didn't like the Batman costume because it looked all scrap, like armored and metal. I don't know. I just didn't get what they were doing with this story, with this costume here. The things around his wrist. I can't find the word that I said when I saw it, but it just wasn't something really appealing to me. The costume just didn't appeal to me. Just all this metal on him, and he looked odd. He looked really different. I'm like, that's not the way he looks. I'm like, they're. I mean, like, it's cool. They're really going in a different approach with the suit. They really want to stand out on their own, I guess. But the suit just looked. Yeah, I'm still having issues with it. One of the big issues I have with the costume is, I think I just talked about it with my nephew, is the freaking cape. It has a collar like around him. Like, why the hell? I'm like, haven't we moved from like having it being the cow where Keaton had to turn around like all the way, and to like freaking Christian Bale saying I want to be able to turn my head, and they have a suit now where he can turn his head. And this just, I don't know, this whole thing with the collar, it just bothers me a lot that he has like this collar. I'm like, I've never seen Batman with a collar like that. So I didn't understand what the hell there. It just looked too cheesy for me, too whack. And some people might think, someone told me that it might have been based off of the graphic novel Damned, and some other people are saying it might have been based off of the video game Arkham or Arkham Knights. And yeah, the bat symbol too. I don't got an issue with the bat symbol. I just didn't understand what that whole thing was. But someone mentioned that it might have been an inspiration from Kevin Smith novel or his run of Batman, which I never read. I don't know which one it is, but I guess it might be like the weapon that killed Bruce Wayne's parents, and I guess he puts it on his chest. So it might be that. The Batmobile looks cool. I mean, it looks like a Charger. It looks like a classic car. It's not like the Tumbler. It's not like Michael Keaton's Batman with like wings and all that. It looks just like a normal average car. So you can see they're kind of grounding this, they're keeping it grounded. So I think it looks pretty cool. It's a decent car, which could be like it still looks like, it goes with the wings. I like the still that they brought out with Robert Pattinson in the bat suit and the car next to him, and it kind of looks like it flows like the wings and all that. So it's pretty cool. Paul Dano as the Riddler, I was really trying to think about like what would he look like in this world? What are they gonna do with him? What costume? I mean, I know they can't make it exactly like the comics because the comics could be cheesy if they did it exactly like the pajamas or all that. But I really wanted to look forward to seeing what he was gonna look like. And then the trailer comes out, and he just has this like jacket on, this like, I don't know what kind of jacket it is. And he has this mask on with these goggles on. And I was like, oh, that's him? I'm like, it looks not what I expected, but then you can tell that he's being grounded. Like I'm like, okay, so Matt Reeves is really trying to do the Nolan approach, which is making a Batman film that's grounded too, And I'm like, we already saw that. I'm like, it kind of bothered me in a way because I'm like, I want a Batman film where it goes back to like the animated series, or where it goes back to like Tim Burton, where the production designer, the costume designer could really work and create this imaginative world. I mean, they're still kind of doing it here. They're making their own style, which is cool. But it's just something I'm saying of my personal taste that I kind of wanted after the Nolan trilogy. Because I mean, if we go here, I'm going back to kind of like what Nolan did, I mean, so. But it is what it is, and I like it because a lot of people have been mentioning how it's represented. Even the trailer, it did look like a David Fincher film. It reminded me of the David Fincher cinematography and all that. And something that I really enjoy about David Fincher is the people he works with in the cinematography of the film, the style, the look the way he lights up the set and all that. It looks amazing, and that's kind of the vibe I got here when I saw the trailer, and that's what a lot of people I think got the vibe from. Is Zodiac, which is a great David Fincher film, a great serial killer film. And so yeah, they're keeping it that way, so I'm cool with that. It's just like kind of a little kiddish in me that kind of wants to see, I don't know how to explain it, but something that I want to see a little bit something else. But this is exciting. I mean, he's grounding it, he's making his own thing separate. Like I wouldn't think he would make him into like a serial killer, like the way he's dressed and all that, like that, and the vibe that I'm getting from it. The other thing is Colin Farrell's the Penguin. I was looking forward to him as the Penguin because it's cool, because I'm like, cool, another actor is gonna portray the Penguin, and I like Colin Farrell, and I'm like we are already seeing actors portray the Joker after Jack Nicholson did it. After Jack Nicholson did it, we seen and Cesar Romero, but mostly for the film was Jack Nicholson. We get to see another actor portray this character who we've already seen in the film in Batman Returns with Danny DeVito, who did a great job as the Penguin. And so I thought they were gonna go back to the way those films were. I thought they were gonna do it like that. And so when I saw the trailer, I did not know that was Colin Farrell, and I was looking for him. I was like, let me see where Colin Farrell, where the Penguin's at in this. Where is he? And I saw that shot of the guy right there. And then people were announcing, like, people think that this might have been Colin Farrell's the Penguin. And it wasn't for sure yet. And I kept looking at it like, is that him or is that not him? Like, doesn't really look like him. And then it got announced that, yes, that's him. And I'm like, same thing as some people said. I'm like, why? I'm like, he looks normal. He doesn't look like anything. And I got excited for this because I heard Colin Farrell talk about it on Jimmy Kimmel or somewhere where he was talking about like, he was like, yeah, we're talking about the aesthetics, the prosthetics, where we're talking about the design, what it's gonna look like. So I'm like, oh, cool, they're really gonna go in that route. They're gonna do a great costume for the penguin. They're actually being creative. But then I see this and I'm like, this guy just looks like a normal guy. He looks like a goon, like a thug, like a henchman. That's all he looks like. Oh, like, so I was like, okay, yeah, they're grounding it really. They're really grounding it. The one thing I do like about Colin Farrell's the penguin here, notice if you look up closely, is he has a scar from his lip to like his cheek, which some people are saying it's like the penguin beak, but to me what it reminds me of is his cigarette holder. So it reminds me of the cigarette holder that he always has in his mouth, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's trying to like represent his cigarette holder. So that's pretty cool that he has that scar, but I don't know if it's representing that. It does look like it has its own style. I already got the vibe. It looks really gothic. It looks like a really gothic take on Batman, which I kind of got with the Nolan trilogy a bit, but this looks really gothic in here, which is pretty cool. You can tell they're creating their own world. I like the lighting of it, the whole thing of it. And I can't wait to see what these characters are going to be like in the film. I'm looking forward to Colin Farrell's the Penguin. I want to see Paul Dano's the Riddler. It looks like since it's taking inspiration from Long Halloween, my guess is that he's basically going to replace like the Holiday Killer and probably be like that type. He's probably going to be Batman trying to chase down the Riddler. It looks brutal. It looks like this is going to be a really brutal Batman, which he should be. I can't wait to see what the world's going to be like in there with the Riddler and the Penguin. I think the Penguin has a small part in it, but I'm really looking forward to seeing Colin Farrell play the Penguin and see the scenes that he has in there, how it's going to play out. I want to see John Turturro as Carmine Falcone, Zoe Kravitz as Selena Kyle. I want to see how Matt Reeves really directs this, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that cinematography is like, and let's see what the score is going to sound like in this film. Let's see if there's another memorable score here. I mean, yeah, those are my thoughts on the Batman film, and I gave you my thoughts on what I didn't like. What I do like. So yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say for the upcoming Batman film. So those are my thoughts on the Matt Reeves Batman film. And if you enjoyed my video, please hit that like and subscribe, please.